Jacson, how are you?
I'm good, man. How
Thanks
are you?
for coming down. Yeah, I'm good. So what's new with you?
Not much, really, man. I mean, new year, new things to sort of tick off the list.
Yeah, new me.
Nah.
2022, you were so mean to me.
2022 is actually fucking sick.
Yeah.
Like, music-wise, it was hell good. Especially after, like, the last few years before that, you know, like, not being able to do much. But
yeah, that's right, because they pretty much canned all the lockdown stuff and all that crap, eh?
yeah, COVID's finished, bro. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, no, I'm loving it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all just the same for me, really. Just doing music stuff and like trying to do that as much as I can.
Is Remission kind of is that kind of just not taking a backseat at the moment, or no?
Nah, we like finished the year like real strong last year. So like we came off.
So you had some tours and that, eh?
Yeah. So like August, we finally got over East again. Yeah. Like after, I think it was like 5 years or something.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that was really good to do. And then obviously like the full tour at the end of last year was fucking great. So
where'd you go?
So for the weekend in August, we did just like Adelaide and Sydney. Yeah. So that was good to sort of just dip the toe back in after so long. And then we did like a full run in November, December. So like end of November, we did Brisbane, Gold Coast, Sydney. And then the following weekend in like the first weekend of December, we did Adelaide and Melbourne. Yeah. And that was really good, you know, because before that, you know, under the old Remission lineup, we'd only been to Sydney and Melbourne. Yeah, okay. But obviously, you know, the band's changed a lot since then. We've changed our sounds, changed members. So it was good to, I kind of feel like, you know, Remission actually started when we got those new guys in, kind of thing. So not to discredit, you know, the band, how it started and the people that used to be in it and what we did, because, you know, we still did some cool stuff. But, you know, as for like,
but now's a lot of the lineup you can see going the full distance kind of thing.
Totally. And just in terms of sort of like, you know, the skill level and involvement of the guys that we've got now, like I feel like it's a properly, like, you know, it was a serious like unit kind of thing, you know, like we take it pretty seriously and
that's good.
Everyone's kind of on the same page about that. So that's really good. But yeah, I mean, like everyone else is like also keen to like tour and stuff, which is pretty much what our aim for this year is. Yeah. Because we've got an album that we've been sitting on for a couple of years now. Yeah. Which we will be releasing, like, I'm hoping in the first quarter of this year.
Yeah, righto.
So that's like fucking really good to finally.
How many songs?
That's a great question. Because we went and recorded like 11 or 12. Yeah. But not every one sort of made the cut.
Do you do it at a studio, or did you do that at home? Like you record everything at home, or
7, 8, 9, 10 tracks.
Yeah, that's decent.
Yeah, there's like a couple of interludes and stuff, but it's a decent like runtime. We go through, like, we went through a studio. Yeah. I demo like pretty much everything at home. Yeah. Because I've got like just, you know, your standard sort of recording rig,
like a Focusrite thing or something like that. Or?
Yeah, just a little like PreSonus audio box.
Oh yeah, and then you use
I got my Kemper.
Neural Kemper.
Yeah, I was using.
Oh, that's
Neural.
right. You got a Kemper. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, bit of kit, man. I can't believe I didn't get one earlier. But I was using the Neural stuff. I actually got mine like pretty alright. I got it from the guy that we recorded the album with. Oh yeah. Yeah, it was like $2.5K for like a powered thing, which is pretty good. Yeah, it's got tons and tons of profiles in it, which is awesome. But yeah, we went through him. He did the Tether's End, like our debut album as well, and I was stoked with how that sounded. So I was like, you know, why not go with the same guy? Yeah, no, it works. It obviously wasn't cheap doing it in a studio that way. Yeah, but the results are like, I'm so stoked with it, man. Yeah, that's like good, it sounds so huge. Yeah, but
I'm keen to hear it, man.
Oh man,
is that Hellfire song? Is that off of it?
Yep.
Yeah, right. Yep. Yeah, that sounded cool, man.
Yeah, that was like a you know, every like release that we do, we've got like one song that has to be like the short, fast as hell, like intense song. That was that. So I was like, that's pretty similar to what we did on like the previous album, like, or like it's a good nod to our roots kind of thing. Like,
okay. So did you use always every album you kind of have a short song for the single kind of thing, just to put it out there? And
it's not so much for the single, but it's more just to have it on the album.
Yeah.
So like, I really like artists that follow that kind of, well, they've got like a layout for their albums kind of thing. Yeah. So like your classic is, you know, the soft intro track at the very beginning. And then like, you know, you've got like the quote unquote radio song, which is like the huge chorus and the catchy one that everyone knows or whatever. And then usually the album will finish with like a really epic sort of track or whatever. You know, I like to sort of have that.
Yeah, it's like a journey, isn't it?
Totally.
So,
totally.
Yeah.
You know, I like listening to albums with that kind of dynamic.
Yeah.
And obviously like, because I love albums like that, that's sort of like where my songwriting sort of mindset goes when it's time to create an album. So like I'll have tons of demos at any time.
Yep.
And, you know, because we're looking at starting recording again now, even though we don't have this album out.
Yeah, right.
But, you know, we're looking at how to structure it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it sort of sticks to the formula, but, you know, we want to show that we've, you know, matured as musicians and stuff like that, you know, like, so.
That's the thing though with Spotify and all the streaming stuff now is people aren't consuming albums like maybe the way you intend it to be listened to, which kind of sucks because you might have a song that goes really well after another song, but if they're just chucking it on a playlist, they're not going to ever fucking hear that.
Totally, man.
So
you almost kind of got to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's the thing where like, you know, people nowadays are saying like, oh, you know, albums are dead or like, you know, it's not really worth doing an album, which I get. Like, you know, in today's market, attention spans are you know, short as hell thanks to things like TikTok and stuff like
exactly
that.
Right, yeah.
General public and stuff won't want to sit there for like 55 minutes and listen to blast beats and bludgeoning guitars and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, obviously you can still do an album, but just, you know.
There's still an audience for it, eh? But it depends, I guess, what you want. Like it's like, because it's the thing between do you want to get a bigger fan base or do you want to have a really good fan base? Or I guess.
Big fan base or dedicated fan base? What are you after?
Yeah.
It's weird though because like there'll always be people, you know, I'm sure like you and me who appreciate the album thing and can sit down and listen to it because, you know, like being artistically inclined, like, you know, if I'm into something, I kind of want to give it the time of day kind of thing. And a lot of my life is rooted in that. So it's like, I will sit down and listen to an album any day of the week. Like, you know, I'll find time for it kind of thing.
That's right. Yeah.
But, you know, I can speak on behalf of a very, very, very small fraction of people, I think, these days who feel like that. And even a lot of my musician friends, man, they're sort of falling into that same boat where it's just like, you know, I don't want to do an album because I don't really listen to them anymore, you know. So we're, you know, with our next release, we're going to try and experiment a little bit and, you know, try and adapt just to sort of like, I don't know, the current market, I guess you could say.
It's going to have less songs.
Yeah, so what we're thinking of doing is recording an album, so it feels like we're still doing one, you know, but release it as like 2 EPs.
Yeah.
So you got EP part 1, EP part 2.
That's cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah, like we're definitely not the first band to do that kind of thing. But it's a good idea if you want to record an album and not sort of put it all out there at one time. So it's like a huge piece of cake.
Some of them might get missed as well because people might hear like 4 songs and they go, right, that's that. You know, I want to listen to something else now.
Yep, totally.
Yeah, and then they're not going to hear the rest of the 4 or 6 or whatever amount of songs are on there. Not because they're not as good, but because people now, they just want to have so much different variety, I guess. Yeah. And
it's like the whole grab and go mentality, you know, like, it's cool, but it sucks because one of the most important parts of getting people to listen to your album these days is your fucking artwork.
Yeah.
And like, you know, how you look kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 100% positive, like, you know, you've probably come across it too. I've done it too. But it's like, if you find something where you're like, oh man, that album cover is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You're like 400% more likely to want to listen to it, you know, as opposed to, you know, something that you've never heard of that doesn't really look the part, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was saying to a one of the guests on a couple episodes back, I think it was. I used to, before Spotify and all that, I used to just go down the, I think it was 78 Records in Perth.
Yep.
And just look for whatever in the metal section had the coolest album cover, and then it'd be like a lucky dip.
Yep.
Just buy it, and I wouldn't even know the band, and then take it home and listen. And because it's a CD, you put it in, you're kind of committed to listen to the whole thing. It's not like Spotify where you can just go, next.
Yeah, it's like all there in front of you.
Yeah, you kind of have to, unless you want to physically take it out and put something else in, but you're kind of committed.
Yeah, you got to do the hard yards, man. But that's the good thing though, you know, like you kind of get out what you put in that sense, where it's like, you know, I think I'm glad like growing up I was able to do that. Like I had a CD player in my room, so I just like bought albums and fucking did them to death like all the time.
Yeah.
But that's how I learned to appreciate the things like, you know, the deep cuts on records and, you know, like hidden gems kind of thing that live sort of deep within these like bodies of work. Because a lot of the time, like especially now, you know, you've got your single.
Yeah.
And that's what sort of everyone gravitates towards.
Yeah.
Unless you do it like, you know, like Lorna Shore is an example where it's like, you know, I'm pretty sure they just did every song on their album that they just released like as a single kind of thing. Yeah. You know,
that's kind of a good idea, I guess.
It is. I think like it kind of grew a bit tiresome for me because they were doing like one a month and it just got kind of hard to keep up with it. But you know, that's me personally, like I still like doing it the old way because I think like going through and finding all those like hidden gems in like records and stuff of people that you admire, that's where I get the most inspired. Yeah,
that's,
you know,
that's like on the last Machine Head record, they released that 3-track single, and then they released like I think a couple of singles either side, and then by the time the album came out, I'd already listened to those that much that when I wanted to listen to the whole album, I was kind of over them other songs. It kind of ruined it, really. To be honest, I wish I had the chance to discover the album with fresh ears, and because those songs were peppered throughout the album, so you'd hear like a fresh song and then there'd be a song you've already heard about 50 times. And you're like, and I kind of wish that I could have discovered that and listened to it just with fresh ears the whole way.
Totally, man. Yeah, I totally get
that. That's the thing that sucks about bands just throwing out heaps of singles and then dropping the album and then they're all on there, but you've already kind of listened to them to death.
Totally, and you know, it's the same sort of thing, even if they don't do that many singles kind of thing. So like, for instance, last year Revocation released their new album, which I fucking love. Yeah. They did like 3 singles off that album before they dropped it. Yeah. And, you know, they're one of my favorite bands ever, so I just like listened to those singles to fucking death when they dropped because at the time it was awesome. But by the time like the album rolled around, like, you know, obviously it's like, I want to listen to the thing back to front. Yeah. But I've heard this song a million times, so I'm going to skip it.
Yeah, that's one, right. You know? That's
like, but that's the thing, you know, like that's what also makes it really hard to sort of like, if you got to release, like how to sort of gear it towards your general audience to get the best kind of response. So, you know, like you said, you know, like, hearing too many singles or whatever because by the time the release comes out, like you feel like you've heard it already. But then there's a lot of people on that other side of the coin where it's like, you know, they kind of want every song to have that piece of attention. Otherwise, you know, like they might not dig it so much kind of thing. Right. So you know, the scope of like how people consume this sort of stuff is so vast now that, you know, you got to take so many things into account. You know, and it's not just how your fans are going to receive it kind of thing, but it's more like marketing and how you like even get it on their table. Yeah. Like to start with, doing it the single way is like a decent way to start, I think. But you know, if you really want your stuff to stick, like I reckon there's nothing wrong with just, 2 music videos.
Yeah.
Like well timed.
Yeah.
Before the sort of drop.
Yeah.
Like it's just a tried and true sort of thing.
I think eventually it'll circle back around. I think because
surprised it hasn't though, with like vinyl and everything coming back so strong. Like,
Yeah. It'll eat itself because their TikTok things are getting shorter and shorter, and it's going to get to the point where it's going to be like a 10-second thing, and then I reckon it'll just eat itself, and then it'll be people will move on, and then they'll be like back to listening to albums again, and that's what needs to happen. I think.
I totally agree.
Because I'm just not cool with it the way it is. Yes, it's convenient, but it's not. It's convenient, but it's not satisfying.
Yeah, and it does harm for like the sort of longevity of like people's careers and stuff. Like when Instagram started getting big with all that thing, you saw that stuff where it's like people would just do 60-second songs because that's all that Instagram would let you post. So it's like, make a song for 60 seconds. It's like, unless you're in a fucking grindcore band, dude, a song shouldn't be 60 seconds long.
That's right.
Like, and then TikTok obviously came along and like shortened that significantly, like even more kind of thing. So people now are just like, the biggest people that I see on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, man, they do like 20-second covers of other people's solos.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are sort of like being called these guitar influencers or whatever. And I'm like, dude, nah. Like, you're covering someone else's stuff and then posting it on your thing. And the only reason you're getting tons of followers and shit like that is because the 20,000 people that can sit and watch that 10-second thing of yours know exactly what they're going to watch. They know exactly what they're going to hear. They love the song already, whatever. So it's like the door for original stuff and like, actual songwriters and stuff like that is more or less like just getting slammed.
That's what
kind of thing
pisses me off about the whenever you talk about the sound of silence, everyone's like, oh, that Disturbed song.
It's not a Disturbed song, bro. It's not.
Or like, that Bad Wolves did Zombie.
Oh, yeah.
And then everyone...
I fucking hate that song.
Like, the original's so much better than...
Yeah, I'm
my opinion.
Hell not a fan. But
nah, me.
Like, kudos to them for, like, because that just blew them the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, straight out
but
the
it's
gate.
Just typical cock rock stuff. You could listen to any Daughtry or anything like that, and you're going to get the same thing out of it.
Totally.
But I guess people have got that argument that you could listen to Slayer and get any thrash out of that. So I guess, yeah.
I mean, that's
different
like,
strokes, I guess. But
totally. And like, everyone's got a different level of like investment in what they like.
I just can't help but be an opinionated cunt sometimes.
Oh, dude, like it's everyone's entitled to like an opinion.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing nowadays. Those people they're like, you got to agree with me.
No. It's like
people are afraid to have their own opinions now. Eh?
Totally, but it's more like I think that's just due to this whole like sort of culture that everyone's visible all the time, and like
everyone wants to be right. And
everyone's got the right to say exactly what they want.
Yeah,
and they've got the right to their own opinion and stuff like that. But it's like, the people that you're interacting with also have those rights, and you're not going to see eye to eye on it all the time. So exactly, it's like, if you want to go out there and, like, I usually just tend to sort of like sit back and watch most of the time kind of thing. Cause like the fucking like getting into COVID and stuff like that was just horrible. Like being online was just like a volatile place to be, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just horrible.
I used to get in so many arguments, and then I was like, you know what? None of us know the real story behind it all.
And
we
probably never will.
We can all make our own assumptions, but none of us are going to agree. And let's all just focus on just enjoying life. And because I got so wound up in it, and then I was just talking to a mate, and I was like, I just got to forget about it, and I just want to just enjoy life, be left alone, and just get back to living.
Totally, man.
But I think the thing about it, everyone got so riled up because you had to be locked away in your house, and I think people just got cabin fever. And
what else are you going to do other than
and then
sit
you
on
saw
your
the
phone?
Politicians were out partying, and it's like, what's with the double standards? You know?
Totally. And it's like, you just like I was kind of the same around that time, because it's like, obviously none of us had been through it, so it's like, what else were we going to do when we're locked down other than like talk to it through the main means of communication, which we have these days, which is social media, you know, like, but I was doing the same thing, man. Like I got into like a few fucking stupid Facebook arguments and like, you know, it took that for me to sort of be like, this is dumb. Like, why am I giving so much energy and like thought to this when, you know, like I could be doing something a lot more constructive and better with my time. So
that's right. Yeah. So that's social media in general though, isn't it?
100%, man.
And that's, going back to what we were saying, it now seems like, image is more important, than the sound. You look on Instagram and everyone's curating their whole thing around the image, and the music's kind of taking a back seat. And yeah,
I think like it is a very important thing, you know, like, and especially like, you know, if you've got an image that's like particular and unique to your sort of band or whatever, and like everyone's kind of behind it. Yeah, you know, that's cool. It's something to have, like, it's cool to have something that identifies you. That thing. But I think especially in heavy music now, where the shtick for a long time, like ever since this thing started like happening, you know, in the 80s, has been the look. Yeah, kind of thing. A lot of people are taking that in a lot of different directions now, which is awesome to see, kind of thing. But you're definitely right. You know, it's like face value is most of it nowadays. Yeah. Unless you can play like a freak, you know. Like the more technical you are, like that'll also draw people in. Yeah. But you know, if you're playing like, you know, bargain barrel fucking riffs, and you look like a, you know, like average Joe, it's like you're not even going to get a look in these days. And that is just like, I'm not saying that to be like mean or like, you know, discouraging or whatever. It's just like that is just how it is nowadays. Yeah, you're going to
find something that's going to stick out, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Like I've got like a mate in Melbourne who's like, I used to play in a band with him. They just played their first show last week on like a Thy Art show. They've released one single and they have signed to like 2 record labels. They've got full management and everything.
Yeah, right. Who's that?
I'll keep the name silent just because I'm not supposed to tell you that record deal thing. But they're a pretty new band. You know, if you little nugget of info, it was Thy Art's second show in Melbourne, the one that they didn't play with the US bands, but it was the band that opened that show.
Oh, okay, right.
People want to do their own digging and find that poster. But, you know, I guess it didn't say who the record label was, so it's fine. But yeah, this band called Melancholia.
Well, I haven't heard of them.
Yeah.
I live under a bit of a rock, though.
I mean, like over here, I don't think people like are really too aware of them either, apart from, you know, like obviously me and my mates that know those guys. Yeah. But their whole thing is their fucking, like the songs are amazing, don't get me wrong, but their image is like a real step in the right direction for them. Okay, you know, like they're like these fucking goth looking dudes who are playing this like dissonant, dark, like death metal sort of stuff, and it's fucking sick. Like it's really good.
Check it out.
Awesome stuff. Like, you know, I used to play guitar in the band that the vocalist was in. And, you know, I remember when that band sort of fizzled out, he was doing a lot of songwriting at that time for that band, but then obviously the band carked it, and he's just used a lot of, or like that sort of things that he was writing for this new band, and it's just gone really well for him. So, but he's really onto it with like image and how to market that kind of thing. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure like out of the gate, like that would have helped them a lot in securing things like record deals and even just attention, man. Yeah. Because no one really goes that hard on the look. Yeah. Especially in Australia. Yeah. You know? Whereas like fucking us guys in Remission, we'd like get up there and just wear normal shit, and then every time we're not on stage, you see us wearing shit like this. Yeah. You know, like image isn't really our strong point, but we like to, you know, let our music do the talking. Yeah, absolutely.
That's one thing. My band, we're just having a bit of a talk recently, just about, you know, what to do next, and because we spent a bit of money on that last video. We did that futility video, and that did less well than the one we did at the start of the year. War is Here. That one did a lot better as far as like listeners and views on YouTube, but it was definitely not as mainstream.
Sure.
And we thought futility would get a lot more attention, but it didn't. And then we're kind of bummed out about it, you know, as you do. And then I just thought, you know what, let's just not worry about the numbers or whatever. Let's just focus on writing good music because you know you get caught up and you want to start getting a bit more traction online and all that. And I just thought if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And I don't have the time, or none of us guys. We all work full time.
Yep.
Don't have the time to be sitting online and making all little snippet videos and all the teasers and stuff. And I just can't be fucked with it. I'd rather just play music.
It's so
and if we
much.
get fans, we get them. If not, then whatever. We just do it. It's a hobby. And,
totally.
And that's need to let go of the you know, just got to let go of wanting to have more listeners or whatever. And if people want to listen, they'll listen.
Yeah.
They'll come.
You know, like, and you know, I think there's a lot of sort of relief to be found in the moment where you have that like clarity pop kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, for so long you could be focused on things like how many people are going to listen, how many people are going to hear this, how many like people are going to see it.
I got burnt out, man. I was at a point. I'm not going to lie, man. I was kind of like, oh, maybe might just quit the band. I'm over it. Like it's not, you know, you get like that.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I was getting depressed about it, and then I was just moping around at home and you know, and just always in a shit mood. And because it does affect you, you know.
Totally, man.
And I know it's a dumb thing to care about, but I think anyone would be lying if they said that they don't want people listening to their music. Like, we all want more people to hear your music. It's a buzz when someone goes, man, I checked out your band and I fucking love it or whatever. It's fucking awesome.
It is. It's great. Like it's
as much as people go, I just play music for myself.
It's one of the most like gratifying things ever. Yeah. Like when someone's like, I took the time to check out your band and I think it's sick. It's like, wow, thank you so much.
Yeah,
you know, 'cause like you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But you know, you're fucking dead right, man. And like, you know, I've been there too. Arguably, like, because you know, obviously, like I work too. Like the band doesn't pay for me, but like the band is what I want to do, and like that's what I'm trying to like. People like see so much like stuff about like how impossible it is to do these days and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, you know what, man? If you like really put stuff into it, like, you know, and just keep your head down, keep going, something will happen eventually. Like, you know, if you put that much effort in, it's like, you know, it's not like your energy is going to go unrewarded kind of thing.
That's
like it might seem like it for a long ass time, and that's why COVID was really difficult, like for me especially. But, you know, if you keep your head down, like you will like go long enough to see like fruits of your labor start to come out. And like, you know,
definitely
whole ass thing where it's like, you know, our first album when it came out, it didn't do really as well as I wanted it to. But, you know, by that stage, it was like I'd been touring heaps and like, you know, with other bands as well. Just going through shit in my personal life and stuff, and I just like ready to get it out. So like you were saying before, like, you know, you got to make like the snippets and the teasers and all that kind of stuff. It's like that does get fucking heaps, but it's like that is unfortunately part of being in a band nowadays. If you don't have someone like external to do it for you kind of thing, which would help. But obviously that comes with getting signed to a big label and getting all those sort of contacts, which is a bit far, like further off. So, but you know, the thing now is sort of just like with Hellfire releasing that, because, you know, with this album that we've got coming out, I looked at our previous album and I was like, I don't want this to fall on deaf ears like the last one did. So I want, you know, obviously being a band is expensive as fuck, but we've just paid all this money for the album. It would be remiss of us not to put more money into ensuring that it gets even on people's screens. They don't have to watch it or listen to it or whatever, but as long as they sort of like just see the name, see the little thumbnail of the video or whatever, it like plants that seed kind of thing.
That's
so
right,
one thing we're doing at the moment, what we did for Hellfire and we will do for like the new like album, the singles and stuff, was we, through our manager, managed to get in touch with an online sort of like digital marketing person. I would say, who really helped us.
Yeah, okay.
Like get like Hellfire at least out.
Yeah.
But you can do like paid advertising on Facebook and sort of stuff, but like the knowledge that these like specialists sort of have of like how to get like proper good like interaction and stuff like that, it's like, going into those kind of areas is so worth it if you like want to sort of like have an impact with your music and stuff, because it's like you can like there's no problem in like doing it from home. Like I've done it plenty of times before, but if you get someone with like expertise, like they're
because at home you're kind of guessing. That's what I found we were doing. I was just guessing, just trying different things, and I think we thought maybe it'd be good to get someone that knows marketing, but we didn't really know where to look or what to do. And
I cannot recommend it enough. Hey, like it's so good. Like there's a few places that I know that we've used before.
Yeah.
That are really good for even just getting things like magazine reviews and like little stuff like that you can like just post on the band page or whatever. But like obviously it all helps.
That's all right. Yeah.
But yeah, like if you're an artist and you want people to like do that sort of stuff, it's like well worth like investing the money in doing that, unless you've got someone in the band that knows like what to do, which is none of us either. But yeah, it's like we just play the riffs.
Yeah, that's right. That's all I want to do as well. I don't really want to.
Yeah.
Just if I got spare time to do band stuff, I'd rather put that into making music than sitting there on my phone for hours on end trying to make snippets or whatever.
I get lost in it, man. Honestly, because like whenever I sit down to do something, because like I'll go do band stuff like on my computer or whatever, and like obviously my guitar's like right there.
Yeah.
So it's like, do I want to sit here and type out this fucking email when my guitar's like right there? It's like, no, I'm going to play guitar. Like
But it's talking about how you're saying to using like a marketing person to get you out there and all that. I recently was just scrolling through Instagram. This band called Anchor or something, Ankor. They're Greek. They've got a chick singer, chick drummer. Fucking awesome band. I really dig it. And never heard of them before, and it came up, and usually I'll just scroll past that shit, but something caught my eye.
Yeah, totally.
And I was like, I'll just let it play for the minute or whatever, and then I went and checked them out on YouTube, and then some songs have got like 2 point whatever million views, and then some have got 500,000, and it's just strange that even a band that's got that many views, I've never heard of them. That's so bizarre. Hey,
it is bizarre, but I think it's so saturated now. Like there are so many bands. Like, and if you think about like just metal, like all the different subgenres and whatever, like, the scope of just the amount of bands that cover those subgenres is like nuts.
Yeah.
And
it is. Yeah.
Obviously, like, especially post COVID, people have had their COVID projects and stuff like that. So like, the saturation like now is just on another level, like it was before, but now even more so. And like, with things like all those tours and stuff getting postponed for those 2 years, and all the big bands sort of having first dibs on like the rescheduling and like the routings and stuff like that, like it's fucking hard to even sort of like break into the first like level of, getting noticed by these people kind of thing. So it's like, you got to do some pretty drastic shit sometimes, man. It's like, like there's so many like things that you could do to like sort of make yourself stick out in, the sea of a billion bands kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it's like, what is going to get you there? I sincerely believe is just sticking to what you do, because there's going to be a billion bands that come out and are huge for 5 seconds, and then they're just like a flash in the pan.
That's exactly right.
One EP, and then they fucking cark it.
That's right. Yeah.
These are like sprint bands, I call, because like they are like more often than not, they're like super groups of like people that are already in bands, so they've already got that leg up. They release like one single, it's the best thing ever for like a month. And then, they sort of just slowly sort of dip and dip and dip and dip.
I thought that happened with that Killer Be Killed. Because maybe they're just not on my radar anymore, but I remember they released that song Wings of Feather and Wax or whatever it was called. Yeah. I thought that was a fucking cool song. Had the Dillinger guy and
dude, that whole album that they did
that was sick.
Fucking awesome.
But then I think they released more stuff, didn't they? But I just never heard it.
Yeah, no, it kind of like that sort of like fell by the wayside for me as well.
Yeah.
Because like I was super into that like first album that they did, and I thought it was great because it was like you had like little bits of like, you know, obviously Max from Sepultura, Troy from Mastodon, and like Greg from Dillinger.
Yeah.
You had like, you know, unique identifiable parts of what they each do in their respective bands, all being put together really well, I think.
Yeah,
like the interplay between all those influences was really well done. But, you know, it was kind of one of those things where it was almost like a gimmick.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you've got these three absolutely fucking legendary dudes in this band. It's like, you know, I love it, don't get me wrong, but it's almost kind of hard to take it seriously.
Yeah.
You know, when they've been so successful with their main bands kind of thing. And obviously people know them from their main band. So it's like, you're going to take the main band seriously. They're just doing this for a bit of fun. So I'm just going to listen to it for a bit of fun. You know, it's never going to be like my favorite band ever.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I think you got a good point there.
You know, like, I like listening to it because it's interesting to see what they can all do when they're together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 I thought they had some pretty cool stuff, but I thought that Max just has that one thing he does, and he did it in every song. And out of all of it, I thought his parts were probably the most kind of vanilla parts.
That's fair enough to say, I reckon.
But that's like, his thing, though. He's good at that.
And totally.
His thing,
and just the amount of stuff that he's done, man. You know, like obviously Sepultura.
Yeah.
Then he's done like, you know, Soulfly, Cavalier, Conspiracy, fucking whatever else the guy's put his name behind.
Yeah.
And I love
listening to stuff as well.
Yeah. But dude, you know, like across like his sort of spectrum, like I can take or leave Killer Be Killed when it comes to Max.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather listen to, you know, one of the last Cavalier Conspiracy albums he did was fucking hectic. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
And then obviously like, you know, I don't really need to say anything about Sepultura. Like just speaks for itself. Fucking legendary band. I fucking love Sepultura.
It's funny. I find it so funny though that how Max is still so what's the word? Is with Sepultura, he's still so synonymous with that name.
Yep.
Whereas he was only the band for a very small part of their time, considering now, you know, how long Derek's been in there for. He's been in there far longer than Max ever was.
He kind of had the Cliff Burton effect with Sepultura.
Yeah.
You know, like, because those first few
Derek's
albums.
fucking killer still, though.
He's great, man. And like that Quadra album that they released a couple years ago or like last year or whatever.
Yeah.
Fucking rips. Like,
that's fucking killer, man.
You know, like, I think.
Fucking heavy.
It's kind of hard for me to keep track of anything Sepultura post Max.
Yeah.
You know, because it kind of just. I know they were still called Sepultura. Andreas is still in the band.
Yeah.
He's a fucking unbelievable guitar player. But yeah, it all got like a little bit muddied for me kind of thing. Because like, you know, those first few Sepultura albums are just so iconic.
Yeah.
You know, and like, you know, like I say, the Cliff Burton effect, where it's like first three Metallica albums with Cliff on them.
Yeah.
You know, for like any like, I guess, musician, metalhead or whatever, that is like the land of milk and honey, you know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it was after that Cliff left or died that, you know, you started to see like, you know, the peaks and troughs of change and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right.
I kind of felt rather than the peaks and troughs of change with Sepultura, it was like interest.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I was invested because Max, you know, wrote most of those songs. And he was so...
It was a real raw, his vocals on there as well, and it was kind of, I think he conveyed their plight, you know, what the political stuff they were talking about. I think he just conveyed that really well with his vocals.
And like, you know, proudly Brazilian and using those kind of sounds and stuff in their like music was because no one really being from Brazil, you know, obviously you immediately sort of stick out. But, you know, adding those like traditional, like, you know, indigenous instruments and stuff like that, it really gave it it was still a thrash metal record, but you know, who sitting in America or whatever was doing that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly,
no one.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, after that, I feel like they definitely still ran with that sort of thing after Max left.
Yeah.
But man, like even hearing about like how that all went down, like Max got done so fucking dirty.
Yeah.
And it was like hard to sort of bring myself to even consider trying to get around New Sepultura.
Yeah.
You know? There was like a few songs growing up where like I really liked it, but you know, for me, most of it was just like
I'll still always
Max
go back to Roots or Chaos AD or Arise.
Dude, Chaos AD is amazing.
Yeah.
Arise is definitely my favorite.
Still love Roots too. That gets a hard time, but I fucking love that album because there was when I was growing up, there because of the youngest of four brothers and all my older brothers listened to metal flat out, and they would always go out with their friends, and then I'd be stuck at home because I was too young to go out, and then I would just listen to their CDs because you always look up to your brothers, and I just want to be like them. So I was listening to, I remember I used to just lock myself in my room and put Roots on the CD player in my room and then just play Lego with the Roots blasting. Because I just remember I was listening to there was Great Southern Trendkill, Roots, I think Euthanasia, I was listening to that shit loads, and I think one of the Use Your Illusions, I can't remember which one, and I was just listening to them flat out, but I remember Roots, for some reason, this one point in time, it's just stuck in my brain. I was just fucking must have worn that CD out. I was just flat out listening to that.
It was.
I don't think it's their best album, but that one's just got a nostalgia for me, if that makes sense.
Totally. No, I fully get that. You know, I like similar sort of story to me, like, you know, one of the first albums that I ever bought with my own money was like the first System of a Down album.
Yeah.
And like, I only bought it because I'd heard BYOB on Rage.
Yeah.
Like, you know, a little bit before that. And like in my young mind, I was like, that's just the most insane shit ever. Like,
I miss the good days of Rage, hey. I miss that.
Dude, back in the day, like, waking up on like, what was it, a Saturday morning or whatever. Like I remember this being a kid and like me and my sister had our own like part of the sort of house. But I'd get up on a Saturday morning and just like immediately put on Rage, man.
Yeah.
Like it was so sick.
I used to do that before school, I remember. And I remember you used to tape it and I used to listen to that Nookie by Limp Bizkit. Yeah. Fucking flat out. And then Adidas by Korn.
Yep.
And
dude, that's how I found Korn, was on Rage. Like literally, like
how good was music then, man?
It was amazing, but
so good.
It's like I was saying before, like it's become so saturated now, and maybe it's just having this like jaded sort of perspective, having been involved in it for a long time, and like trying to grind it out.
I'm sure there's guys that are now, you know, when me and you were growing up listening to that stuff. I'm sure there's guys that are listening to stuff in the 2010s that'll be then our age in a decade or two. And they'll be going, oh, the 2010s were the best fucking era. That was, man, music, that was so amazing.
And, you know, like people sort of like in our kind of generation are used to copying that from people who grew up in like the 70s and the 80s or whatever, you know. It's like, it happens. Right. It's a generational thing, obviously. But, man, I think maybe this is biased, but like, those days were just so elite for music.
Yeah.
Man. Like,
I think that obviously the 80s was awesome, but I think the 90s is, for me anyway, was metal, like quintessential. But it's funny because I think that is still a special time, even for the newer generation, because you see guys on Insta and all that, younger blokes still like listen to 90s stuff on there. Yeah. So it's like it's still fairly relevant.
I think like everything like comes back around again, you know. So like the same thing with like, you know, the whole vinyl thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that was a long time coming, and it has been back like in people's hands for like a long time now.
Yeah.
You know, like people are actually buying vinyl and stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Like tapes.
And bands are flogging off vinyls.
Totally.
Hardcore.
It's a good investment to do, but you know, and same thing again now. It's like, you know, the fashionable thing to do is to dress like people in the 90s used to dress, like, you know, baggier clothes and stuff. We're moving away from like, you know, the skinny, tight sort of stuff. And it's like, but you know, these are just examples of like, you know, everything sort of like, obviously like refreshes itself. But you know, like I honestly think like 80s, like 90s were cool. Like there was like a lot of like stuff that obviously came out, but like man, the 80s for me were just so like vital for like where we are now.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And like a lot of iconic stuff was done like in the 80s sort of thing, and that's what kind of sucks because like they took all the cool riffs back then, so nothing is original now. You know, like. But
no, I'll agree with you there. I think a lot of the foundation was laid in the 80s. Awesome foundation. The thing with the 90s though, I think, is that whole decade. You know, the 80s, I feel, for me anyway, I'm sure everyone's different, but for the 80s it feels like there was, you know, around 86 there was a lot of awesome stuff, you know. But the 90s, it was just like, it was like the 80s they were laying the groundwork and all that, and then the 90s is where everyone kind of curated it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm probably not making my point very well.
No, I get it. So like, you know, obviously, you know, the 90s is sort of where like a lot of the it stopped being like such a bands stopped having such a broad stroke, you know, in the 90s where, you know, like your Metallicas and like stuff like that obviously were doing like, you know, fast thrash and ballads and
I don't think Metallica's best era was the 90s though, but
like, you know, obviously like for the 90s you had bands like Pantera come
Fear
out
Factory
who
and all that,
took influence from those guys and did a lot of stuff, but like, you know, it's a lot more sort of like on the straight and narrow in terms of what they did. For like obviously Pantera just was, well, for me anyway, it was just Dime and his riffs. Fear Factory was like Dino had his like right hand sort of thing and like real abrasive sort of stuff. You know, a lot of the sort of bigger death metal bands came out in the 90s as well, as opposed to the 80s. And that was, I think, kind of like taking what a lot of those bands did and sort of stripping it down, I guess, and like really focusing on a few things. So like, you know, I think bands became a lot more sort of
everything was streamlined a lot more in the 90s.
Totally.
And, like trimmed all the fat off.
Yep. Rather than like, you know, trying to cover 7 different genres.
And I think because metal got probably a bit more to the forefront of the mainstream there, that a lot of it was a lot better produced as well.
Yep, especially at the turn of the fucking decade or whatever, like, you know, coming out of the 80s and into the 90s. I think by the end of the 90s, metal had kind of like fizzled out a little bit in the eye of the mainstream. But, you know, bands like Metallica and stuff with the Black Album obviously helped a lot in the early 90s. The production on
that, man, I'll still listen to that, and the production's fucking legendary.
The fucking guitar tone, man.
You can say whatever you want about the songs or whatever. I know it's a polarizing album. I like it, but I don't think anyone can deny that that's one of the best sounding albums ever.
Man, I mean, like, I bash the songs a little bit because obviously it's not my favorite Metallica album, but it's my favorite sounding Metallica record. Yeah. Like, that guitar tone, man. I can't believe they did that whole thing through, like, literally just a pair of HS7s or whatever the fuck it was. Like, stupid good, like, for the time and just, you know, what they did for that album. Like,
even a Vulgar Display of Power, I love the production on that. Even though I know a lot of people online rag on Dime's tone, I never got that. I always thought his tone was fucking awesome.
Dude, literally, it was one from like the very first time I heard that fucking shrill ass guitar. I was like, that is insane. Like, that is intense. Because like the first song I heard was Walk on like Headbangers Ball when I was like fucking 8 or something, I think. And I was like, this is just I want to go like stomp around, man. Like, this shit is crazy. And then I got like a bag of CDs off my mate's brother, and Cowboys from Hell was like in there, and I just didn't even know what the fuck Pantera was. Yeah. You know? I put it all on my iPod and like press play on it, and like, you know, just that like first sort of like do where Dime comes in with his actual guitar. Yeah. And it's that like just gainy, like trebly, fucking almost chainsaw-y like tone that immediately just like sticks out to you.
There's something about, like you're saying, when them first couple notes come, it's just when that comes in, it's fucking so epic. And I love watching the live video.
It's like a knife cutting through the air at that point. You're just like, oh.
And that video for that's the best fucking video, I reckon.
Oh, it's so sick.
It's so fucking good. How good do shows look back then?
Oh, amazing, dude. Where it's like, I'll go back and watch like, shows from like the 80s and 90s and stuff, and like just the size of the crowds and stuff back then. Obviously, because like, back then these bands were kind of doing this like thing that no one had seen or like heard before.
Yeah.
Really easy to keep a fan base because like obviously people weren't as distracted back then kind of thing.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But man, I see shows from back then and I'm like, I hate saying it's like I was born in the wrong generation, but I wish I was born like a lot earlier on, eh?
Yeah. But in saying that, I saw some of the footage from those Pantera shows, the reunion shows. Fuck, some of that looks awesome.
Dude, the one in Brazil where they're playing that stadium or whatever, and like
there's that one that was getting shared around.
Everyone, like that looks nuts, man.
Yeah, dude.
Looks so nuts.
Because I saw the first video I saw, everyone had their phones out, and I was like, fuck, I just put them away. Fucking hell. But then that show, the one you're talking about, that was next level, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's easy for like I'm sure like me and you to sit here and be like, everyone was on their phone, like put them away. It's like, do you know what you're seeing right now?
Yeah,
like, do you understand what you are seeing right now? But that's just because I fucking love Pantera, and like I'm sure like you as well are well aware of like the lore surrounding that band, kind of thing, and like the backstory and everything. Yeah. But by the same token, it's not really. It isn't really the real thing.
No.
You know what I mean? No, like if it was the real thing, I'm sure people would like more people would have their phones out, I'm sure. But that's just like today kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. But I was gonna ask you what other bands are you in?
I'm in a band called Suneater.
That's right. Yeah.
We're just
what kind of music's that?
It's like they call it like post sludge, stoner doom, something. I don't know. It's like it's different to what I do in Remission. It's like low and slow, like heavy riffs, sort of thing.
Low and slow, like a barbecue.
Yeah, dude. Like big meaty fucking riffs.
Just like a barbecue.
Yeah. But that's cool. Because I'm usually used to playing like the fast stuff, so it's cool to sort of like
slow it down.
Pull the reins in a little bit, get a bit lower with my vocal, and really sort of.
Also, you do vocals in that band as well.
Yeah, I play bass and do vocals in that band. And,
right.
We're just finishing up recording an EP at the moment, which is cool.
Yeah.
And then I do vocals in a band called Pincer, which released. Well, we like debuted last year.
I don't know why I was calling them Pincer Plus.
Well, that's like it's kind of how the name's spelt. Obviously, like if you look at it like on your phone on the screen or whatever, it'll come up as always like Pincer with the little plus thing.
Yeah. What's the plus about?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Like that was kind of one of those projects where like I was asked if I wanted to be involved in it kind of thing.
How did that all come about, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, the guy behind it all, Josh Ang, he used to be in a band called Dealer, which was huge when they dropped. But like they had a lot of problems as a band, and they disbanded like a little while ago.
Yeah.
So ever since, like, he kind of like dipped out of doing metal and stuff, and he got sick of it.
Yeah, okay.
And then he like sort of came back around sometime a couple of years ago. He wrote like fucking 50 or something songs, just huge back catalogue. And he's like, I'm going to put together a band. Like, he was having trouble finding a vocalist because like, every cunt in Perth who's in a band can be like fickle as hell when it comes to doing other stuff. He's like, do you want to do this? And I was like, I've wanted to do like just standalone vocals for a hardcore band like for ages. So
how did you get in contact with him? How did that come about? How does he know who you are?
Well, when I used to work at Mega Music, he used to come in. Like,
is he from WA?
Yeah. He
I thought that band was from over east or something.
So Dealer was from over east.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He is based in Perth, but he wrote all the music for it.
Oh, okay,
so
right.
like, he's just the mastermind kind of behind this whole thing. So when he asked me if I wanted to be in this new project, I was kind of like, well, fuck yeah, because I saw what your last project did.
Yeah.
And it fucking kicked off. So I was like, even if this doesn't kick off, like it'll just be a fun thing to try and do, because like I'm always not necessarily trying to perfect what I do because I'm not really there yet, but I'm trying to sort of have a broad scope of what I sort of can do. Like, I like to diversify my repertoire as much as possible. Like, not only like guitar wise, but vocally and band experience wise as well. Like, just being in these bands and like being along for the journey, I think is like a very beneficial thing.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so like he hit me up. I was like, fuck yeah, I was already in Remission and Suneater, so I was like, I'll see if I can make this work time wise. But it's worked out fine. We got off to a fucking amazing start. Like, we got fucking signed before we even released a song, basically. Shit. Which was awesome.
Yeah.
So, it was the first sort of thing where I sort of just all I had to do was just walk in and scream. All the lyrics had been written.
Yep.
Songs had been written, whatever. Fucking.
Was the vocal phrasing already worked out, or you?
Yep. Yeah. So like literally,
he just basically lent your voice to it.
Pretty much. Yep. He'd sat there and just demoed everything out, and he was like, "This is the phrasing," and I was like, "Cool." Because if I had to sit there and come up with lyrics, it would have been like a little bit more intense, and I'm not really the best when it comes to that. So, being able to sort of walk in and have it all there ready to go, the label gave us an advance for the recording and stuff. So like didn't have to put a fucking cent into recording, which was
cool, man.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And it's been like a pleasure kind of thing. But yeah, between those three, I'm pretty fucking busy.
Yeah. You will be.
Yeah, like, Suneater wants to go out and tour this year. We've already got offers and we've got stuff lined up for Remission.
Yeah, okay.
And obviously, being in WA, going on tour in the eastern states is expensive. Very much not cheap. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I'm keen for it. It'll be good to go out there and do as much as like you can, kind of thing.
We're about I think in May, I think it is. Go do our first show over east. That Nowhere Festival.
Oh yeah, whereabouts is that?
It's in Brisbane.
Oh, sick.
Can't remember the name of the venue. I should know all this, but I don't. Sorry.
That's a job for the morning that you fly out.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Where are we going again?
Yeah.
So that'll be the first time over east for the band. Obviously some of the other guys in the band have toured, with Nucleus.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You got a couple of those guys in your band.
Yeah, so they've already got that kind of experience. I don't. Neither does Sam, the other guitarist, or our drummer Callum. So
it's a good experience, man. Like, I think everyone who is in a band who sort of like at least takes it somewhat seriously should experience doing that.
Yeah.
It is different, and it's awesome. Most of the time you fly for like a holiday or, some people for work all the time or whatever, but there's a different kind of energy when you go over there and, you play for people that you've never seen before or a room full of strangers kind of thing.
Yeah, that'd be good because that Perth shows, obviously you always see a lot of your mates come or a lot of the same punters, whereas this would be good to get to different ears and different crowd. I'm sure different crowds behave differently too and
absolutely
and react differently. And
it's so good over there, man. Like, and I'm not trying to like piss on Perth at all because I don't shit where I eat.
Yeah.
But, if you're in a Perth band, chances are you're probably playing Perth quite a lot.
Yeah.
And by that I mean the scene here is so small, everyone really knows everyone kind of thing. And I find if you don't go and do the touring thing, or at least take money out of your own pocket to get the band over there and play a show kind of thing, you will end up just playing sort of the same show more or less.
I think you'll just pigeonhole yourself as well. And,
absolutely.
You'll.
But it's good to
fizz out.
Like I was saying before with the marketing and stuff, it doesn't really matter if people listen to it or click on the video or whatever, as long as they see the name kind of thing.
Yeah.
What better way to do that than to actually put yourself in front of a room full of people that are there and stuff and play your music? It's it's not the same as, them just flipping through their phone. You're right there in front of them kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's how you get the really good engagement kind of thing. Yeah. You go up and you meet these people after you set and have a chat and whatever, and it's by the end of like one night on tour, you've got like maybe you play to a room of like 200 or so people, and 5 of those 200 people are now into your band.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's like where the building blocks sort of start happening and stuff. And like the more you do that in different like places, obviously the faster it will sort of grow. So
that's right. Yeah.
I think like, you know, there's nothing wrong with being from Perth at all. Like I fucking love living here and I think it's great. But, you know, if you don't go and do that and you take yourself seriously, like I think there's only so far that you can go.
Yeah.
Being in Perth kind of thing.
Yeah. For sure.
It is like you talk to people like from over there as well, you know, and like even they will say things like, oh, you know, Perth is fucking so far away. It's so far removed. It's almost like it's not even a part of the fucking country.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, okay, I get it, you know.
Yeah.
But that like both that and following the tour that we finished last year, that's going to be our focus from now on. Like with Remission, is not playing Perth too much, you know, but instead trying to go and develop crowds in these other like sort of areas because like we've played Perth so fucking much and like, you know, not everyone has been at the show at once, you know, but I'm pretty sure everyone in the Perth metal scene at some point or another has seen my band.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's I want to do that for a living. What's the next best thing to do? Go play for people that haven't seen us before.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and the crowds over there are really, really good. The riders are really good. They actually fucking want to take care of you, which is
not
crazy.
One beer.
Yeah. Dude, in Adelaide, like when we rocked up there for like the first show last year in August, we weren't the headliner or anything like that. We just got given like 24 drink tokens.
Okay.
And they could get you any drink from behind the bar. And we were kind of like, what? Like, are you sure?
You know, we're only a Perth band. We're not international.
It's like, is this what you guys do over here? And then the next time we went back to Adelaide, man, that was literally just like, oh yeah, just walk up to the bar, say from a band, and they'll just give you a free drink. It's like, dude, what the fuck? You get like, you know, food discounts and stuff over there too. So like, yeah, this is all kind of like, I'm not trying to make Perth look bad here. I'm just like going off what I have experienced here, which has unfortunately not always been the greatest. But, you know, that's why it is really good to go out and do that sort of stuff, you know, just to sort of like see how other people operate, other venues operate, you know, meet people in other bands and like develop those network sort of things. It's almost like a business, man, you know. More people you meet, the better you'll do kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I'm pretty glad in that sense that, you know, one of the first things that we did in regards to that was go to Japan.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of like, we had already been like over east, or a few of us had been over east at that point. But when we got the new guys in, one of the first things we did was go to Japan.
Yeah. Okay. How was that? Pretty good?
Fucking amazing, man. Like it's not fucking cheap at all. But the experience of doing that is unreal. And like we got to tour with fucking insane bands like over there, which was just a dream come true for me at least. Cause like, you know, one of my favorite bands ever, we got to do a whole tour with them.
That was Revocation?
Yeah. And that was just a pinch me moment, you know, for me. Cause like I'm there with like Dave Davidson playing his guitar, like talking shit with him, like playing these shows. Like, I'll be playing a show mid-set and look up and I'll see fucking Dave Davidson and the rest of the Revocation boys like standing there nodding their head watching, and I'm like, is this fucking real?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? But even being in that different part of the world, because you go there to play shows, playing shows in Perth, it's like, you know what you're going to expect when you walk into a venue to play a gig kind of thing. But doing it over there and having that experience was like so eye-opening, and just the way that the fans are over there and stuff. It's like getting out there and experiencing that kind of like thing is what I live for, you know, and I want to do it fucking everywhere. Like I love traveling, you know, just by standard kind of thing. It was something that I always did growing up. Very fortunate to be able to travel heaps. So like my true love is like, you know, traveling and stuff like that. But obviously if you can play shows while you're doing it, it's like, oh, fucking, I want to do that, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and the more that I can do it, the more that I get, or we get the opportunities and the offers to go do it. It's like, well, I want to make that happen.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
obviously it's at a point now where it's like, oh, it won't pay for itself. But, you know, like I said before, just keep your head down, keep doing it, and maybe one day, like, you know, you'll get lucky and, you know, it'll start sort of like paying for itself, if not making some money.
Yeah, that's right. You got to and enjoy the ride along the way, and
that's that name of the game, man. And, you know, like you said before, it's like, you know, you just got to do it for your own sort of self-fulfillment and enjoyment and stuff. And if you do it, well, then, you know, it's pretty hard to give a fuck about anything else around that, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm hearing you. It's, it's just, from Perth, it's just such a, it's so hard to get to other people's ears, hey? Because if you go on the East Coast, you can do a bit of a run, or even you look at the US, those bands over there got it so much easier in that way that they can,
dude, and Europe
just hit so many cities. Like, you know, Europe,
drive for an hour and a half in Perth, and you would go from here to Joondalup.
Yeah,
drive for an hour and a half over there. You hit fucking 3 countries. Yeah, you know, that's like, right. It's fucking wild. But you know, that is a big thing as well. You know, and that's just Australia too.
Yeah,
like we're on the most isolated country, and we're in the most isolated city in that country. So it's like, you know,
double isolated.
Other bands, like, they start here. We're starting from like all the way down here, bro. You know, we got it harder than most, but that's why I don't dig on, like, you know, the people of Perth, like, too much, because, like, obviously when it comes to local stuff, like, there is a dedicated fucking fan base for local bands, like, you know. But if you're looking to sort of like take it to that next step and, you know, like, do this properly, being from here, it's like you have to think outside the box most of the time, because like you aren't going to get the same thing as people in like America or Europe or even Sydney get, you know, like it's almost like a gated community here. Yeah. I'm not saying that there's like gatekeepers or whatever, but it's like, you know,
you shall not pass.
Well, yeah, but it's like, you know, so sort of like removed from the rest of the community sort of thing. Like it's kind of hard. Like, our whole thing when we were on tour, like, recently was, you know, obviously we were out with Xenobiotic, so it was us and them being like the Perth bands that were out on tour. But we still had people in every city be like, oh, where are you from? Yeah. Kind of thing. And then when we said Perth, they were just like, what? And I'm like, what do you mean, what? It's like 3 hours that way, man. But like, you know, maybe it was COVID or whatever, because bands haven't been going around. But like, you know, for some people, it was kind of just like, wow, you came all the way here. And it's like, well,
where else are you going to go?
Yeah. It's like, I did Perth like 100 times last year, dude. It's like, you know, those people are sick of me. Yeah. Like, I'm coming to fucking annoy you guys now. Yeah. Like, but it's good.
That's one thing.
I love that shit.
With us, it feels like we're kind of spinning our wheels in Perth a bit. Yep. Like, we don't really see too many new people coming to shows, and yeah, it's, I don't know, it's hard to say, but hard to get across what I'm thinking. But it just seems like if we put out new music in Perth, it's just gonna same people are gonna check it out.
You kind of like plateau. Like, here,
we feel like we've plateaued, and we're a fairly new band, very new.
Yep.
So it kind of sucks in that way, but
you're doing something about it though. Like, you know, you're going over east, and that is like a start. Yeah, for that, because, you know, if you keep going, it's like, you know, you're only going to do it more and more, kind of thing. Like, you know, if that's what you guys want to do, kind of thing. But, you know, the other band that I'm in at the moment, Suneater, along with Remission, it's like we feel exactly the same. You know, spinning wheels, plateauing. It's like we do things like release new music and all this other stuff, and it's like, you know, the same kind of people are at the shows, which is great. You know, like,
not
I love
complaining about it, but
totally, because like, you know, those are the people that like know your songs and know the music, so it's really fucking awesome to see them wanting to come out to shows in the first place. But, you know, like, I'm sure everyone who plays in a band, and I'll like die on this hill, everyone who plays in a band has had the dream of fucking playing for 1,000 or 1,000,000 or fucking however many people, a big crowd.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says, like, you want to do that if you're playing in a band, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, trying to achieve something like that in Perth being in a metal band is nigh on impossible. So it's like, you know, you hit that plateau and what are you going to do? You got to like reinvent the wheel to get people coming out in Perth, unless you're like a Thy Art Is Murder or whatever, because for some reason those shows always bring people out of the woodwork. And it's kind of like, well, where the fuck are you the rest of the time? You know? But you know, obviously that comes along with being like a successful worldwide band kind of thing.
That's right, yeah.
Every place is the same. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's good, man. Like, you know, go over and do stuff like that, and you know, you get considered for things like, you know, support slots.
Well, you build a bit of a resume, I guess, don't you?
Totally.
In a sense.
And then, like, you know, you meet bands over there and stuff, and like they might hit you up like 6 months later and be like, hey, we're releasing a single and doing a few shows over East. Do you guys want to come?
Yeah.
And just having that sort of door fling open for you, being from Perth, is like, you know, fucking godsend, man.
Yeah.
Like, if you really want to do it kind of thing. I keep saying that because it's like, you know, there's plenty of people who are more than happy to just play in Perth. Yeah. And that's fucking fine. Yeah. You know, they can fucking do that. But, you know, I've always had that dream where it's like, I want to be fucking touring the world and playing the festivals and playing the big fucking shows and stuff. And, you know, I want to put myself in that position. Yeah. I ain't going to do that. Just playing Perth every fucking weekend, you know.
Nah, it's like, not going to happen.
It's good for chops.
Yeah.
Stage practice.
Get tired as fuck.
Yeah, totally. Good for practice and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. There's like a certain point that you hit where, you know, people either make that decision where it's like, you know, I'm cool just doing it for fun. I don't mind playing like a casual gig here and there. Or, you know, the other side of the coin is just like, all right, I need to go do something that's more than this. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, I'm hearing you, man. Both options are fine, in my opinion. But yeah. So have you guys got any shows coming up for Pincer? Yeah, we've got one on February the 4th at Amplifier. Yeah. Supporting Dark Matter. Okay, yep. Great band. Yeah, they are. And then we have got another one later that month, which has not been announced yet. Hopefully we'll be announcing that one soon. And then we've got a really fun show in April, which also has not been announced. But that one is going to be sick. And yeah, like I can't give too much away, but fine, it's yeah, keep your eyes out for that fucking April show because that is going to be dope. Yeah, I need to get out to more shows. It's just hard from Mandurah. It's a bit of a trek. Yeah, man. Like that's a big time investment on your part. You know, I struggle to go to shows nowadays just because like you know, obviously. Where do you live? I live in like Bateman, so like near Murdoch Uni, that kind of thing. Okay. But it's more just like, you know, the money involved in going out and seeing bands and stuff now can be like, it's pretty high if you have like a big night kind of thing. Yeah. But like, I don't know, like most of the time I go out, like I'm playing a show, you know? Same, yeah. So there are a few times last year where I found myself at a local gig just as a punter and I was like, oh, wow, holy shit. Like I don't have to load in or do anything kind of thing. I'm just here to enjoy myself. This is weird, you know? But I find that usually because like we just fucking we played so much last year that it was like hard for me to want to go out. Yeah, get over like, it. I just want to sit home, fucking relax, man. Yeah. You know, just cherish a weekend where I don't have to fucking be at a venue and sound check and go through the motions. Do all that kind of thing. Love it, don't get me wrong, but it's tiresome after a little while. Oh, I guess we should probably wrap it up anyway. Yeah, no worries. Anything else you want to get out there? No, not really. No. Should be releasing a new Remission single pretty soon. Yep. With a video, so that should be cool. We'll have artwork and stuff announcements in the next week or so. Yeah, cool, man. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Just covered pretty much every facet of my life. That was a good chat, man. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for having me on, man. It was sick. Appreciate it, man. Cheers. Anytime.